Welcome. I'm Harmony Slater, your host of the Finding Harmony podcast. Over the past 20 years, I've taught thousands of yoga teachers and students to explore the intersection between ancient wisdom and modern everyday life, using mind-body practices to heal, awaken, and manifest their dreams from the inside out. This podcast is a sanctuary for those feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges. Are you ready to jump in and discover how these challenges aren't actually in the way, but are the way to finding harmony? Let's invite the magic back in. Well, hello and welcome. I'm so happy you're back joining me for the Finding Harmony podcast. I'm your host, Harmony, and today my guest is Shimrit Nativ. She is a success and life coach and has lived a very fulfilled life, bringing together all of her dreams and visions. We're going to jump into how she transitioned from having a successful musical career for over 20 years, teaching and composing, recording and performing, and how she's moved more into helping others now through business coaching. She's worked with some amazing coaches and professionals like Joe Dispenza, Bob Proctor, Regan Hiller, and Neil Donald Walsh. And I think you're just going to find a lot of insight and a lot of wonderful stories in this interview. So I'm excited to jump in and look at how you can bring more success, more fulfillment into your life with some of the tips that our beautiful guest today is sharing with us. So let's jump right in. Hi, welcome to the Finding Harmony podcast. And today, I cannot wait to introduce you to my guest, Shimrit Nativ. She is a success and freedom mentor, a CEO, and the founder of Master Your Path Academy, which sounds really exciting. I would love to dive into how you started all of this work.
Sure. Thank you for having me, first of all, Harmony. I'm really excited to be here and to have this conversation with you today. I already know it's going to be amazing.
Thank you. How did you become interested in guiding people on their journey and creating an academy?
I was a musician for most of my adult life, and that's maybe most grandparents won't wish for their grandson or granddaughter to be a musician, possibly, or to marry with one, right?
Yeah. What kind of musician were you? Did you play an instrument or sing?
Yeah, so I started as a flautist. Flute was just an instrument that I was always fascinated by, and I actually didn't start early on in life. So I started playing when I was 22. Up until then, I wasn't playing any instrument really, but I always wanted to play the flute for some reason. At first, I tried to tick a box, and I went to university to study psychology and statistics, and then philosophy. But I didn't really enjoy the environment in the academy and what they required for one to study and all the hoops one would need to jump through in order to actually work with people and serve and help people as a psychologist. So that didn't really resonate with me. So I stopped. And then I found myself in a relationship with who was then to become my partner for some years, for 5 or 6 years. And with him, I joined him basically living outdoors. And we lived outdoors for several years. And that is where I found my way into this passion of nature and also the flute. And that's where I started playing the flute and taught myself. And then this passion became stronger and stronger until I decided that I want to make that into my career. So I went to the academy and I studied to become a professional musician in jazz. So jazz was the path I took there. But then again, I felt after 3 years or so in there, jazz is very technical, very mental, very analytical music, very precise. I mean, of course, there's improvisation, but the improvisation happens in very particular ways or structures. And there was this new passion starting to, burn stronger and stronger in me to really find my own voice physically as well as musically. And so I stopped my studies in the music academy to really surrender to that calling. And I started singing and writing my own music, my own songs and lyrics. And I did that for a few good years. Eventually I completed my studies, but as a composer, really, and not as a jazz musician anymore. And yeah, I wrote my own music. I was a teacher always. I've producer, a performer. So I was like a full on musician all around. And fast forward almost 2 decades, the first passion of wanting to work with people and help them, that led me to try out the psychology route came back, and burned stronger and stronger. And that was basically a calling that was always there and a gift that was always there since a very, very young age, since childhood, really. And I felt that it was time to let go of the musical career that I'm still very passionate about music, but not so much the career aspect, like the business aspect of the musician kind of career. I wasn't very passionate about it anymore. And I really paused and I had to listen and wait for clarity to come, for clear guidance to come so I can know what is next, because I didn't really know. So I didn't really know what it would look like for me to answer this calling. I just knew that it's not what I was doing and that it had something to do with helping people and really sharing my gifts that I always had since a young age.
It sounds very interesting, like very similar journey. Well, similar in some ways to me, where I went to university and did a degree in philosophy and religious study and wanted to do psychology, but did not like the statistics part of it. So only did the minor in psychology and decided also, like originally my intention was to become a forensic psychiatrist, but then I was like, that's too many years in school and too much science and statistics and all the things. And so then ended up going into the field of yoga, more down the philosophical and spiritual path,
Yeah.
traveling to India, spending many years there. But then, after about 2 decades, coming back full round and being like, I think it's time to go deeper with people and start to explore what's happening underneath the surface so that I can really help them connect to that deeper part of themselves for healing and transformation. So it's just interesting that I think sometimes these seeds that get planted when we're younger kind of like grow into fruition
Yes.
later on after we've kind of, I don't know, developed other aspects and talents and interests. So you kind of were in a place, it sounds like, where you were still in the music world, but feeling like you wanted to do something a little bit different, but not exactly sure what that would look like.
Yeah, yeah. So I stopped I was in the musical world for sure. I still am, but I really canceled all my future,
Okay.
tours and
You just said, I'm
everything. And
done.
I really submitted to just asking and, being in that unknown, in that void of not knowing what to do next and really asking for clarity and for guidance to come. So a lot of meditation, a lot of working with my dreams, a lot of journaling, a lot of really asking, and more clarity came. And I was guided, to do certain courses. And I've gathered a lot of skills throughout my journey, obviously in my own healing, in my own personal journey, and also as a teacher that I always was, which gave me a lot of skills in that sense. But yeah, I done, all kinds of certifications and such. And I started working as a coach in a very similar way to how I would teach music, actually. So I was just doing that very locally, just
Yeah.
with, I don't know, I posted on Facebook or whatever, word of mouth, but like very low key. Like student would come to, for music lessons, then people would come for coaching sessions, but it was very kind of low key like that. And I loved it. And people got really amazing results. And I started realizing that, I want to do this in a bigger way and reach more people and create a bigger impact. And that what led me to, business, basically to start this as a proper business and to develop a method and, to teach people. And that kind of brought me to where I am now and still going, obviously. But yeah, that's the full answer to your question, I guess, of what got me to where.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious. I know that you do some work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I don't know if you're currently a consultant in training. I'd love to hear what resonated with the work that he does and how you use that also in your own coaching with clients.
Yes. Well, firstly, I did not continue pursuing specifically the consultancy with Dr. Joe because his consultancy training and program is designed for corporate environments and teams. And it just didn't fit in eventually to my work. Basically, I work with
Yeah.
individuals for the most part, and that's where I'm focused on. But I really wanted to do that consultancy training with Dr. Joe because I absolutely love his work. And his work has had a major impact, first of all, on myself, on my own, my own
Mhm.
growth, my own evolution, and also in my work with clients. So I've done a lot of his work also before the consultancy program. I resonate so deeply with his teaching, with his work, with the aspect of coherence healing in his work that he does and teaches. And I also took part of that in different ways, specifically with that. And I've done the consultancy program, yes, but it's not something that I'm pursuing for the reason that I mentioned.
Yeah.
But what I think, Dr. Joe and a few other people like Dr. Bruce Lipton and others, they bring a gift that is so precious and important and crucial because they bring the scientific explanations to the
Mm.
spiritual truth,
Mhm.
and most people in our culture need that in order to believe it. And
Mm.
right, because we are so programmed to rely on science, to rely on physical evidence of anything and everything. And so I think most people, definitely people that are not into spirituality and personal development, and then even people that are
Yeah.
still, in order to really, really change and to really, really be able to not only accept mentally as true concepts like, everything is made out of a formless substance, or the unseen is not
Mhm.
any less, if not more real than the physical perceived. Even people that accept these as truth, still this is only intellectual acceptance. And
Mm.
it's still difficult for most of us, even the spiritual types, to truly embody these concepts and to believe it not only intellectually but you know fully, and to really
Yeah.
accept this on a subconscious level, basically. So
Yeah.
that's why I think their work, that Dr. Joe's work and a few other people that do similar work, is so so crucial to really
Mhm.
bridge between these worlds and to really they basically deliver for us this physical and scientific evidence that we require because of our programming, and really accept this as true and therefore apply it to our lives.
Yeah, do you, like, use his techniques for coherence or his meditations in your own practice or with your clients?
Well, I don't use his meditations with my clients because that's
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
property,
Obviously.
obviously. But I use his meditations a lot for my
Mhm,
own personal practice. There were times when that was really most of what I was doing, and now
mhm,
not so much, but definitely a lot of that in the past. And my own work, the meditations that I create and the
mhm,
transmissions that I deliver with my clients are influenced by all the people that I've worked with and all the mentors that I've had, and definitely Dr. Joe is one of them.
mhm.
So yeah, it's there. The influence is definitely
Yeah.
there.
Did you also work with Bob Proctor? Was that one of your first kind of, like, certifications to become a consultant in his methodology? Mhm.
It wasn't the first. I was already a certified transformational coach before working with Bob. And also, I did Satnam Wasayan healing certifications, which is a type of healing that comes from Kundalini Yoga. So I've had all kinds of other certifications before working with Bob. But I done the Bob Proctor's, like the PGI, Proctor Gallagher Institute certification program,
Mhm.
consultancy. Yes. And I worked with that program for quite a long time as part of my service, as part of my coaching. And working with Bob really, basically, I started my business without all of these things. So I had my transformational coaching certification and all of many other tools that I've gathered along my own journey. And I started working with clients, and really the results were so amazing. And then I started, building my business as I've shared. And that was all before Bob, before Dr. Joe, and before many of the other mentors that I've had afterwards, because I felt that I was so motivated and my mindset was so very strong. And I've done so much healing work before that in my earlier 20s and 30s. And I've healed my body and I've manifested the love of my life and so many things through a lot of inner work. And I've seen results with clients. I felt at that point that I don't need to invest basically in my own personal development. And all I need is to invest in my business development, because I had no experience in business, right? I've never worked for anybody else in my life. I only, I was teaching music, I was a musician. So I felt that all of my attention and resources should focus on that. And I did that, and I invested a lot to learn all kinds of everything, marketing, sales, advertisement, funnels. Like, oh my God, I had no idea. Like, really, I didn't even
Yeah.
use, I don't think I had Instagram at that point. This was completely new for me, the whole online world. This is pre-COVID. But then in that first year of my business, I worked so hard to implement the
Yeah.
so many important and useful strategies that I've learned, and successfully as well. But I burned out during that really, really bad.
Yeah.
And that was a very, very powerful learning experience, obviously, and a very painful one. And I basically, after a year, reaching, six figures in less than a year, and and all my goals, but I had to stop all of that and come into really the 0 point, because I did not update the subconscious program I was operating on to match where I was going. To explain that at that time, because a lot of my work
Yeah.
up until that time was more around emotional healing, spiritual practice, and not so much the subconscious reprogramming and rewiring. I mean, yes, but not in those terms, and not in full, basically.
Yeah, I find it interesting how we can do so much spiritual practice, whether it's yoga or meditation or breath work, pranayama, whatever the tool is that you want to use. But sometimes we're just doing those tools, and yes, it's regulating the nervous system, which is great. And it does sort of allow us to maybe release or move through some of the surface kind of issues and blocks. We maybe don't feel so insecure or so much self-doubt, maybe build up our confidence and our feelings of security. But some of those deeper unconscious programs that we're running
Mhm.
around maybe self-worth or scarcity or all the different unconscious beliefs that we created at mostly probably a sub or pre-linguistic point
Mhm.
in our life, that even that maybe we've inherited either directly or indirectly from our parents or grandparents. It takes a different approach often. And I think that's what you're speaking to get to those things.
Yeah.
And business is a great way to pull those ones out.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. I mean, also relationships, but that's the piece that I
Yeah.
already worked on, or
Yeah.
health, which is also another piece that I worked on. I mean, the health is always a reflection of something that touches other areas anyway. But yeah, exactly as you say. And it takes a different approach, a different set of tools, different processes, and different levels of awareness, and understanding of the human instrument, the mind body instrument that we have as human beings. It takes a different understanding, different level of understanding of how it operates, in order to really update those programs that are running in the unconscious. Yeah, exactly. And so that's what led me basically to Bob and to Dr. Joe, and of course later on to more great teachers. But Bob and Dr. Joe are really two of the main teachers that I've worked with, and that influenced myself and my work, and that's what led me to them. So at that point, I burned out. I had to stop. I had to let go of the team that I had and really came back to point zero and very bruised. And then I said, okay, now I understand that I need to invest in me and the inner game. And that's what led me to first to Bob and then to Dr. Joe. Yeah. Or
Wow.
in kind of in parallel, I guess. Yeah.
And how do you work with clients who maybe recognize that there's something going on underneath the surface, but they're not really quite sure what that is? How do you help them identify and then reprogram some of these deeper unconscious beliefs that
Mhm.
are coming up?
We work through a process of 18 steps basically,
Mhm.
and it is designed to really master the instrument, as I called it, the human instrument, and the skill. It's a skill. I always say that, well-being in whatever shape or form one desires it to be, or what it means to anyone, well-being, financial, physical, in relationships, lifestyle, whatever it may be, is a skill. Well-being is a skill. Freedom is a skill that you can practice and master. And so this process is designed for that, to practice and master the instrument and the skill. And the instrument has an operating system. And so the instrument, human instrument, can take you anywhere. You can create whatever you want. And, if you're in this world and in this kind of, realm, then you've heard it a million times, right? You create your own reality. You can be, do, and have whatever you want. And that's true. And so the instrument can take you anywhere you want, but it has an operating system, and it operates on a program, right? This program is really very much like an autopilot system, and wherever it is set, that is where you're going to go. And it doesn't matter what you do and how much you want and how much you try. It's exactly what happened to me, right? So I really was ready to work very, very hard and to do whatever it takes to get to where I wanted to go. And I, in fact, reached it or started to reach it. But the autopilot system, so to speak, was not updated to that destination. It was set on a different course and I didn't update it. So I deviated from that course, right? Building a
Mhm.
business, reaching 10K months and beyond, da, da, da. And the system pulled the plane, pulled the instrument, pulled me back right to the course that's been set. And so in this process, we first of all anchor into the awareness of who we truly are, because we are not this instrument, right? We are spiritual beings, and this human part of our experience is the instrument part. And so the process really starts with anchoring into that awareness, because then we are plugged into source and we can start learning how to direct that source energy with the instrument that is designed exactly for that, and update the program the instrument is operating on to match to where we want to go. And so to be able to direct the energy in that trajectory and sustain it. And then we really identify what are those. So the program is a multitude of patterns, that subconscious program. Yeah. And so we identify which are those patterns that are not a match to the new destination, to where we actually want to go. And we start shifting those patterns one by one through certain processes and meditations that I find is really powerful. And I find that, meditation is vital, of course, not in most cases, not complete. Like for most people, I find that only meditation alone, even if it's every day and for, long meditations, it's still not complete, because for most people, even if they meditate for 2 hours a day and it's very effective and
Mhm.
amazing, still when they go out to life, right, and engage with
Yeah.
people, with circumstances, still that program gets activated, and they keep reacting in the same patterns. And so it's meditations, but also other processes and practices. And it's a lot about updating the identity, right? Because it's who we are, right? And we've heard this a
Yeah.
million times as well, right? It's who you are. So we want to really update that identity. The identity is a big part of that subconscious program. And as you said, pre-linguistic, for the most part, our identity, our personality is It's not something we chose, and it's definitely not like predetermined, like we can change that. And so we should, Dr. Joe, speaking of Dr. Joe, he always says, one of his sayings that are my favorite is, your personality creates your personal reality. It's so simple,
Yeah,
so
that's
powerful.
good.
Your personality create, yeah, exactly. So that's the identity upgrade work that we get to do. Yeah, and then there's a lot of work with energetics, right? To learn how to tune your energy, to stay tuned to frequencies that are a match to what you actually want to create. So there's a whole process there that we go through. Yeah, and I love this.
How do you use like energetics and vibration and frequency, I don't know, upgrades, I guess, to help people like in the coaching sessions? Do you use a particular process or just looking at understanding energy? Like how would you help a client do that?
Well, I don't change the person's frequencies and
Yeah.
energetics. They do that. I mean, one
Yeah.
must do that for themselves. So it's more about giving the tools, and then, coaching is a lot about showing the client or their student their blind spots, right? And giving them
Mhm.
feedback on how they are applying the practices so they reach mastery of the skill. And so I don't work with energetics in the sense that I change people's frequencies in any way. I teach people how to do that for themselves and how to
Mhm.
apply it to everyday life. So it's very tangible and
Mhm.
very applicable.
So how would someone do that? Like if I'm like, "Oh, I'm feeling so low vibe today." Like what are some things I could do to change my frequency or to like increase my
Yeah.
energy vibration?
Well, there are different things, obviously. Some of the things can be very, very simple and also very
Mhm.
personal, right? So all of my students very early on in the process create their list of exit points, we call it,
Mm.
right? So it's like when like you say, I'm feeling very low, I'm not, or maybe you feel stressed, or maybe you feel like any kind of low frequency, right?
Mhm.
And that usually tends to catch momentum. That's what we call a
Mm.
down spiral, right? So usually if we feel like that and we don't do anything about it, then it gets worse and worse until, I don't know, we go to sleep or something. Depends. Sometimes it can be
Yeah.
even sleep and cannot help that, or cannot happen even. As some people can sleep well when they're in a down spiral. So anyway, you want to exit that highway, basically, that is moving you
Mm.
in the wrong direction, basically.
Yeah.
And so you create your list of exit points, and it can be simple things, truly, as jumping jacks or your favorite song, or of course breath work and things like that. So it's very personal, and people create their own list of exit
Mm.
points. Another thing is really to understand atonement, and
Mhm.
when you go out of atonement, when you go out of
Mhm.
tune, right? So
Mhm.
basically, speaking of an instrument, it's really like, many times I give examples from the world of music, really, because that's a
Mm.
big
Yeah.
reference for me, and for a lot of people, right? Whether
Yeah.
you're a musician or not, we all share that language. And
Mm.
so it's like a guitar or a musical instrument, right? That gets out of tune. So we can hear it, right? Some people are less sensitive to that and some people more, but definitely as you do this work, just like as you do the work of playing an instrument, you learn how to really hear it. Like, ooh, here this frequency, it's out of tune, right? So with this work, our students learn how to really hear the frequency that is out of tune, right? And then
Yeah.
come back to atonement with, directing. It's a lot about directing attention, basically. Like if we
Mm.
simplify the whole thing of the creative process and the operation of this instrument, it's about attention, right? Because where attention goes, energy flows. We heard that this also a lot of many times, and that's really true. It's so basic and so simple, but so misunderstood. Like truly, what we give our attention to is
Mhm.
what we direct, pure unadulterated energy that everything is created of.
Mm.
We are so powerful. We are the most powerful thing. And we do that simply by observing, by giving our attention to something. And, in quantum
Mm.
mechanics, it's called the observer effect. And so each and every one of
Mm.
us is the observer And energy collapses into matter now by what we give our attention to. And so back to your question, if you feel low, let's say in any way, like the frequency is low, and you know this by the way you feel, right? So low energy, frustrated, stressed, these are like low frequencies, basically, that we name them with
Mhm.
these words that express emotions, but that's what really is. Our emotions give us the indication of what vibration we're on. And so when we are vibrating on these low frequencies, we are basically out of atonement with a high frequency, which is our true nature. As we said before, the spiritual being, and spirit is naturally, the highest frequency is a match to the divine spirit
Yeah.
itself. And so it's a lot about what we give our attention to. Basically, the instrument is giving us the feedback that we
Mm.
are out of atonement, that we are giving our attention to something that is tuning our frequency low, that is tuning our instrument out of tune. And then
Mm.
just like you want to know how to tune your guitar, and instead of like, if a musician, let's say a guitarist, hears their guitar out of tune, they wouldn't keep on playing, right? They would pause, even if it's a
Yeah.
big concert, to tune the guitar, because otherwise, what's the point? It's not going to sound good. It's the same
Right.
thing, right? We want to pause and tune our instrument. Otherwise, we're just going to create, bad results. It's not
Yeah.
going to sound good. It's not going to give us the results that we want. And so there are different ways to do that.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. The finding the exit points when you notice that you're maybe starting a downward spiral. What are some of the things you can do to immediately shift it?
Yeah.
And it could be a change of environment or a movement or music or nature or whatever the things are, breath work, all kinds of tools for sure to help shift our focus.
Exactly. I mean, that's
Yeah.
on the go, right? We have some go-to tools, and then we have, of course, deeper processes to really change those patterns on a deeper level. So that doesn't even happen. And then, of course, other things happen because it's an ongoing journey.
How important has it been for you to really maintain or create or sustain your own spiritual practices while you're building this business? I mean, it sounds like you had a really big learning curve and big lesson reaching all your goals and then crashing down and having to kind of rebuild and restart again. So what have you learned now that, could maybe help people not crash and burn?
Yes. Well, listen to the signs, hear the knocks on the door, and open it. Don't wait until it knocks harder and harder, right? So I didn't listen to those knocks, and I was like, no, 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 I'm going to go. And I had all kinds of symptoms, physical symptoms that I didn't listen to. First emotional symptoms, then physical symptoms, until I had to stop. And so this is one thing that I'm encouraging very much anyone listening to take. And yeah, the spiritual practice, the daily practice is the most important thing, obviously, in order to maintain that and expand it further. And it doesn't necessarily require a lot of time. It's more the consistency than how much time. So at first, when I was really healing from the burnout, I cleared out a lot of my day to
Mm.
really
Yeah.
take the time to do, meditations and rest and take care of myself and work out and do all of the things, but with a lot of time. Now I'm very busy, right? We're talking a few years back already. Since then, I've restarted my business and it grew beyond the goals that I had then. And at first, actually, that was a very tricky thing because when I was ready to get back, I was also very scared to burn out again.
Mhm.
And that was like a non negotiable. This is not going to happen again, right?
Mm.
But on the other hand, I really wanted to do, right? I
Yeah.
love doing. I'm an action taker, and I didn't give up on my dreams and on my goals. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to go, but I'm also, how can I go without going back to what I was doing before? And of course,
Yeah.
mentorship is what really, really helped me to understand. Because first, when I got back to the doing, my body, my skin specifically, would give me signals. And then at first that was like, okay, these are my signals, so now I'm just going to listen every time my body gives me those signals, because I've learned from
Mhm.
my experience. And so now
Yeah.
every time I'm getting these signals, I'm going to slow down. But that really didn't work for a long time. That was not
Mhm.
sustainable and was not satisfying, because
Yeah.
those signals came quite quickly. And
Right.
so I want to do more. I have the drive, I have the vision, I have the purpose, I have what to do, I have work, like I have leads, I
Yeah.
have clients, I have like, let's go. But the signals are coming and I have to slow down. So how does that work? And then I learned that, okay, yes, listening to my body and hearing,
Mhm.
the signals, but also learning how to master the body, because the body is
Mm.
the instrument, right? And
Yeah.
we want to listen to the signals. Like if our car is giving us signals that we need to fill it up with gas or fuel, or with water or whatever, we better listen, otherwise it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
But also we're the drivers, right? We're not gonna just let it do whatever it wants. So that's not gonna be, I mean, I don't know, today
With the self-driving cars, we're gonna have to come up with a new analogy soon, but
exactly.
yeah, for now it works.
For now it works. Although I'm sure even then something like we have to program it, like otherwise, yeah, okay, this
Yeah.
takes us to a whole
Pay
other conversation
attention.
about artificial intelligence and really big questions there, but let's not go there. But anyway, yeah, so to master the instrument basically. So I've learned that it's about now, okay, updating the program again, the subconscious program, so I can do all that I'm so passionate and wanting to do without, because the burnout was not because I was working too much.
Mm.
It was because of the program I was operating on while working. That's a
Mm.
big difference. So for where the program was set, the subconscious program was set, I was working too much.
Uh,
But now sometimes I work less, sometimes I work more. I do, I love to work. I love my work. It's not about not working. It's about updating the program you're operating on, so the work that you do is yielding the results that you want, and without any compromise, without like overdriving, overworking the instrument basically beyond its capacity. So it has the capacity, but it's capped by the program, so you have to update the program so you can tap into more of the capacity of the
yeah.
instrument.
It makes sense, especially, I mean, if you come from a place where you think, "Oh, I should only have to work 4 hours a week," and then you're trying to start your own business and you're working like 80 hours a week,
Yeah,
then even unconsciously, if you or even if you think, "Oh, I'm gonna start my own business to work less," you might have to kind of understand like, oh, it's not about working less, but it's making the work feel like play or feel like something that you want to do. And that's the joy rather than, clocking in and having to work less hours at a job that you don't like. And so of course there's all these little undercurrents of our past that kind of come into our present and then cause effects in our future for sure.
exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And of course,
Yeah.
like, to be an entrepreneur, you do have to have some level of hunger. I think that entrepreneurship, the best analogy, I mean, I give a lot of analogies from music when it comes to
Yeah.
the inner work. But another really good analogy, especially when we talk about entrepreneurship, is
Mhm.
sports. You know,
Yeah.
the athletes that are really, that really made it, the big stars, they work hard. Obviously, they work very
Yeah.
hard, but they love it, right? And they are hungry for that. And it's not, I mean, it looks like it's about winning or losing. Obviously, that's what competitive sport is about, but it's not really about that, right? One of my favorite things is from Kobe Bryant. I absolutely love the videos of when he speaks about the mental game, which is always is it's about the mental game. And he says, it doesn't matter. There is no such thing as failure, because at the end of the day, if you lose the game, that sucks, right? That sucks. Of course, all he was so competitive. So obviously to lose the
Yeah.
game is just terrible, right? It sucks.
Yeah.
And then you wake up in the morning and you go back and do it. You
Yeah.
practice to the next game. And if
Yeah.
you win the game, that's awesome. That feels so good. And guess what? The next day you wake up and you practice to do it anyway,
Yeah.
to do it anyway, to do it again. So it really
Yeah.
doesn't matter, right? It's just our perception of it. And it's wonderful to celebrate the win, and it's okay to, be disappointed with the loss, but it's really not about that. And so for entrepreneurship, for life in general, but definitely for this game, it takes
Mm.
a lot of, it's a mental game, and you must be hungry for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think hungry, and also I feel like there's something that happens, we were talking about alignment earlier and, you know, like energy alignment, but like when you're aligned with the thing that you love or
Yes.
the thing that really gives you energy, that feeds you, that makes you come alive, it seems like it's an easier flow. I mean, there's still things, of course, you're gonna have to do that maybe you don't like, like bookkeeping or I don't know, keeping track of clients, like some admin work, or I don't know. Not many people like admin work. But ultimately the work itself is more easy and enjoyable. And there's, like you say, that hunger is there because you're so aligned with your purpose or your
Yes.
dharma.
Exactly. You have to be very, you have to love it. You have to love why you're doing it, the purpose, the mission. It's a missionary work for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. Well, tell everyone where they can find you and come reprogram their unconscious beliefs.
Thank you for asking. Well, I think Instagram would be the best place to connect.
Okay.
You're very welcome. If this is resonating, you can send me a message. My link will be probably in the notes of this episode, right? So you can send me a message. You can send me specifically the word energy, and I know that you come from here, and I would love to send you a free meditation to move energy beyond the senses. And then if you want to go deeper, we can include in the notes of the episode a link to a workshop. It's a 3-session training basically for free. It's called
Great.
All the Way to the Top. And this is more of a process really with some meditation, but also other integration work. And you can do both. I would love to support you through that process. It's all for free, and you're very welcome to reach out.
Beautiful. What's your Instagram handle?
It's Shimrit Nativ, my name.
Okay.
No
Perfect.
dash,
Easy.
no, yeah, no upper,
Nothing in between. Just squish
nothing.
together.
Squished together. Native, yes.
Beautiful. Well, we will put all those links in the show notes, and yeah, I would love to download your meditation and also your workshop process. So,
And
thank you.
you are very welcome, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. And if you're ready to understand how you work best in the world, discover your spiritual entrepreneur archetype. I've created this most amazing quiz. It's free for you, and it's going to give you the key that unlocks your ability to attract your ideal clients and create a business that truly resonates with your soul. After taking the quiz, get ready to receive your Archetype Branding Inspiration Kit. It's going to help elevate your business and your branding to the next level. Maybe you're wondering, what is a spiritual entrepreneur? Well, a spiritual entrepreneur is someone who feels called to use their unique skills, talents, and knowledge to serve and uplift others. Sound familiar? I think it might be you. Typically, yoga teachers, healers, coaches are in the realm of the spiritual entrepreneur. You're living your dharma. You're walking a path and leading others towards their own path of personal growth and development. So, if you're ready to align your soul with your business goals and align your business with your true purpose so that you can attract more of the people that you're here on this planet to serve, then be sure to head on over to my Spiritual Entrepreneur Archetype Quiz. It is so much fun, and you are going to get so many little gems as a result of taking this quiz. That's it. We've concluded another episode of the Finding Harmony podcast. I just want to thank you so much for doing the work that changes the world, starting with yourself. It truly does make a huge difference. Please make sure you have your automatic downloads turned on wherever you listen so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. I have so much more magic I can't wait to share with you. Lastly, if you're on Instagram, I love connecting and hearing from you. So come on over and say hello at Finding Harmony Podcast. And you can also come say hello to me personally at Harmony Slater Official. Thank you again for being here. I cannot wait to share more with you in our next episode.